Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar, and ladies and gentlemen, we have an interesting little spicy video today. One video that's a little bit serious and one that I want to be taken a little bit more serious than usual. We ain't playing no dumb little game today. We ain't talking about no Twitch bans today, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about some IRL bans, ones that are handed out by the good old friends of the FBI. Now that being said, to start this off with, let me just start off by saying Blood on the Dance Floor is trash. I've always considered the music to be garbage. I know that a lot of people say opinions are like buttholes. We all have one. But I just want to say that acoustically, this music is kind of trash. Or I'm just saying. I know we were all young once, okay? Listen, I get it. But one of the singers of Blood on the Dance Floor, Dahvie Vanity, is one weird, creepy fella. Now, this is a man who's now at his late 30s, or I would say, pretty much down on his luck, almost out there, pretty much coming out of the limelight, even after years of being disgraced with actual allegations where he was involved with minors. And it's one of those things where I really want this to be taken seriously. Now, in order to continue doing this, one has to look into what's been popping up nowadays. Here's a Huffington Post article where they talk about how he, did some real bad stuff and the police gave him a little bit of a warning. Now, 21 people are actually accusing him of a potential assault. The reality of it is that this is where I really want this video's message to be: go out, respect the proper law enforcement channels, and get stuff taken care of. Because one of the things that I've been noticing this year and last year regarding individuals like Chris Hansen, who I'm also involving in this video, is the mishandling of a lot of these investigations, causing people like this, who most likely did the crime and got away with it because literally the stuff was so mishandled that it's not even funny. Now in this article, one of the words that I've highlighted is alleged, which shows up about at least 16 times talking about this entire situation. If you look up the word evidence, you'll see that it shows up twice, where it talks about, there was once a video that got uploaded and deleted, we never see it, or at least I never see it, where this dude did something really bad to someone underage, and they asked, do you want to lick my cum? Well, let me tell you, I tasted what mine is like. There's a whole story. Check out Critical's podcast on that one if you really want the whole deal. But yeah, it's not that impressive. But you look at things like proof or anything in this instance, it really doesn't go into that situation, because these are some pretty grave allegations. You can't just be making them unless the receipts are ironclad and ready to go. Now, this is the reason why investigations also take forever. You can have a bunch of these accusations, but if you can't really provide the proper evidence, there's not much law enforcement channels can do. A lot of people say FBI investigations take forever. That's true, they do take forever, but once they start getting the stream of proper facts and actual witnesses that are siding with them versus YouTubers online, things get sorted a lot faster than they normally would have if that didn't happen. Now, these are also some allegations. This is Jeffree Star, who talked about, I'm going to speak the truth till I die. We saw Dahvie bring under... Look at those words. You can't say those words and just retract that shit back. That's a little heavy of a statement. That's a really big statement to have. Now, this is way back in the day. But don't worry, shortly afterwards, we all get over the past. Everything is great. Stop the negativity and smile. I don't know, Jeffree. If I saw some people diddle kids, I don't think I'd be saying, stop the negativity and just smile. I don't know if that's really a smiling situation. Now, it's because of this, the reason I'm bringing all these characters up is Chris Hansen recently did a live stream where he actually interviewed Jeffree Star. Now, I want to say interview in the very loosest term because it was one of the soft curve interviews that I've ever actually seen. Now, over in this interview, he pretty much let Jeffree lead the entire situation. I recommend you go check it out. It wasn't where we got any form of new information. I would say that the Mom's Basement interview, the podcast run by Keem, Colossal is Crazy, and FaZe Banks, did a better job where they played sort of good cop, bad cop. But going back to Chris Hansen's interview, the real meat and potatoes of this thing that kind of drove me insane was there wasn't really any new information, and he pretty much let Jeffree control the narrative. Now, to understand, Jeffree is a pretty famous guy. He's a rich dude. He's got a lot to lose. So you can understand why he doesn't want to really give away allegations, something that could put him in a legal hot water tank. The reality of it is, and the thing that almost gets to me here, is that as weak as that interview was, I have to give some props into it being a nice point of reference. So that if Jeffree sort of reneges on something or sort of hides or contradicts himself later on, you can have Chris Hansen's interview as a sort of point of reference to contradict that later on. things like lies and contradictions eventually see themselves in reality as you go on forward. And that's just one of those things that I think as bad as the Chris Hansen interview was, the saving grace was literally what I just said right there. To really sum a lot of this up, and why I'm making this video, is that this investigation will take a little bit of time. It definitely will. But I want to really spread a message where we need to handle this stuff properly, and we need to go through the right channels. Because if you want to see bad people put behind bars, you're gonna have to do it the right way. Because the way that these sickos get away with their crime is literally abusing the legal channel, literally abusing God knows how many fuck-ups that the good guys make, and get away with it with sheer cockroach luck. Now, the reason I'm bringing Chris into it is Chris at one point worked with this dude named Vincent, this fucking nonce, who basically screwed up, I would say, a big chunk of the Chris Hansen investigation. If you don't know why this dude's a nonce, Chris actually worked with him and found a girl named Sarah who was involved with Onision and his husband Kai at the time. And the reality of it is that at the time that they were doing this interview, at the time that they had gotten in touch with her, she had a laptop that could have contained potential receipts against Onision. Receipts that may have proven that he traveled across lines very clearly with the intent of going after minors, or possessing or transportation of digital media involving really, really bad stuff with minors, you know, things like that. But the reality of it was Chris and this dude named Vincent, and Chris really isn't at fault here. Chris's guy that he worked with, Vincent, basically had this laptop, talked about it on social media, ran up an entire gambit, and didn't give it in time for the feds to truly process it through. They broke what we call the chain of custody involving evidence and law enforcement. And let me tell you why that's a big deal. If this laptop contained something bad, something that you could use against Onision, something you could use against anyone, you can't use it in court because any defense attorney would sit inside a courtroom and say it was tampered. And sure, you could run an entire investigation into checking the forensics of had the laptop been modified, but once you have that cloud of negativity regarding a piece of evidence, yeah, it's tossed out. Trust me, it's gone. Any defense claim can easily make the entire idea or run an entire entire tangent saying that it was modified content to begin with. And it's why one of those entire deals against Onision was run into the ground. Now, sure, could you still pinch him on it? Sure, you can. Could you at least pinch him? If you can find evidence, maybe. But the reality of it is Onision at this point may go down, not because of what he's done to minors, because he's always towed the line on a legal edge. But he's probably going to go down for failing to actually pay taxes, I would say, like an IRS back tax issue if he has it, if he starts to fail payments on it, or the wetlands issue where he's been fined tremendously, and if he basically fails his financial obligations to the government, he could be facing that jail time. That's the closest I think we'll get to Onision going to jail at this point. It doesn't matter if you have a massive FBI investigation. One of the things with Onision in this case is this is a Wayback Machine archive of a company called Nesaya Motu Incorporation that a lot of these anti-Onision channels basically tossed in. Was that Onision had used this to like transport or like, you know, show child like or distribute like child adult video content, which is something that I don't really get down with, because as you can see, it's just a regular ass corporation that's in his own state. It's a delinquent organization, meaning that it's not inactive, it's conducting business. But the problem with the delinquent organization is they probably fucked up a thing or two, and that means that getting a loan on their business credit is just not really happening, or they're going to go through a bunch of extra fees and bullshit just because of their delinquency status. The reality of it is this was trademarking his brand Onision, and the reality of it is this is actually far more normal. A lot of YouTubers who make big bank on the platform will often have a company that they made just so they don't pay like a shitload of cash on personal taxes. They have corporate tax to pay on. Now, this isn't necessarily wrong or illegal or anything, but if Greg is improperly doing his taxes, this is a case that you can make for the Internal Revenue Service, which, trust me, is far scarier than the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and pinch him on this if you want it to go after. But right now, Chris Hansen has pretty much started to ruin the cases against Onision. A lot of people who are bringing alleged evidence against Onision are not providing the receipts appropriately to the federal authorities that need them right now. Now, I know that I talked about this video with Dahvie Vanity and all that stuff, and I've been on an entire binge with Onision, but what I'm trying to get to, the crux of this, is to really tell you guys and hammer in the idea that if you have been hurt by this Dahvie character, if you have been hurt by this person at all, We cannot repeat the same mistakes that Chris and his team and many people who are involved in that cloud have actually done. The reality and what I'm bringing into you in this case is that instead of going out of your way to go after the YouTuber and use them to report, understand that if somebody has harmed you, if Dahvie has really hurt you, and you have the receipts, you have the facts to prove it right now, then you need to get in touch with the FBI. And it's not hard to do so. Trust me, there's very easy ways to get in touch with the FBI. Go to a law enforcement channel, go to your local FBI field offices. There are a bunch around you. Get in touch with them. Go report it online on their website. Go call them if you have to. Hell, find somebody involved with the agency at all and just go through them. At this point, that's your best bet. By going after a lot of the YouTubers and running these interviews and all that stuff, we're never actually getting close to properly investigating and convicting an actual criminal felon. This person like Dahvie, who's been alleged to do this by 21 people, I'm not saying 21 people are wrong. They could absolutely be very well right on it, and it takes a lot of courage to come out and be a part of an interview. But if you're gonna stop someone, I would say at this point, repeating the mistakes that we just made with Onision, because trust me, the Onision investigation is pretty much shot in the dark. I unfortunately do not see Greg paying for any of the crimes that he's done. He's going to get away with it. The only thing that I see him getting pinched on is probably an IRS-related issue, which, yeah, trust me, that's bad, but it won't nearly be as bad as what people actually want him to be pinched on. The thing about Dahvie Vanity is if this guy is as guilty, and a lot of people say that he is, saying it is one thing. Proving it to your local law enforcement, that's going to be the biggest challenge. Get in touch with them, start this thing. Do not break the chain of custody regarding evidence. Get in touch with these people. Look, getting in touch with a YouTuber will help you out. Getting in touch with news media will help you out. They'll assist you in making the claim to federal authorities. But grab a phone, get in touch with feds, and get away with it. Trust me, dude, this ain't Epstein. This ain't some big-name billionaire figure that's going to drive you into the mud. This is some dude who daily vlogs his life on Instagram, apparently, and drinks alone. It don't get more sad and pathetic. If this person has hurt you, get in touch with the Federal Bureau of Investigation on your own. In fact, get in touch with a lot of other people. Get a case together and do what you can, instead of contacting it through a third-party proxy. Keep your evidence pretty secure, keep your evidence pretty updated, keep it with you, keep those receipts, and forward them to a law enforcement agency anytime you can. Now, I don't mean to... Closing remarks in all of this is, I really wanted to use Chris Hansen because I like Chris Hansen, but the reality of it is after seeing how butchered that Onision investigation has actually gotten, I don't want Chris to repeat this the same way. I think Chris is a great host. What a lot of people miss is Chris Hansen had a lot of people doing his investigative work during Dateline NBC. And the thing about it is that as Chris evolves his persona on YouTube, I think he has an aura of responsibility, specifically regarding cases like this. And I think Chris needs to really, really go forward into this with a much more tactical process and to hire the people that are actually going to assist him in submitting evidence or dealing with the proper channels the right way. No more people like Vincent, no more fuck-ups like the laptop, none of this. This Dahvie guy, if he's as bad as people say, and trust me, I get those vibes myself on a personal level, then in order to stop him, you need to do it by the book and you need to do it right. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mudahar, and if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. This is me, Mudahar, and I am out.